In Next.js 14, optimizing for speed is key, so let's talk about how the Vercel data cache can help. Imagine we're fetching data for our site. By adding some simple cache control to our fetch request, like public, max age equals 60, stale while revalidate equals 30, we tell browsers and the Vercel edge to store the data for a minute. If it's a bit stale, no worries. Vercel quietly fetches fresh data while still showing the old. So, we've got faster load times and updated content, best of both worlds. Imagine you just published a shiny new blog post on your site. But wait, your site's visitors still see the old content. That's where cache invalidation comes into play. Using the Rivali datePath function, you can wave a magic wand to refresh the cache. Just call an API endpoint, like we did here, and poof, the stale data vanishes, ensuring everyone sees your latest masterpiece immediately. This simple update means no one misses out on your fresh content. In web development, it's often handy to use both static and dynamic content. Static generation with getStaticProps lets you fetch data at build time that doesn't change often, making your site super fast. But sometimes, you need to cater to each user with server-side rendering or client-side fetching. Here's the cool part. You can mix them up. By using static generation for the bulk of your content and fetching user-specific data on the client side, you give users a personalized experience without sacrificing performance. See, best of both worlds. Hey, check out this neat trick for making web navigation super smooth. With Next.js, you can cache your server components to load data faster. See, you use this special use router hook, then call router prefetch on, say, the About page. It preloads the data right when this component loads up. That means when someone clicks the link, the page is all ready to go, no waiting around. Plus, using link with prefetch, the data starts loading when you hover over the link. Cool, huh? It's like giving your app superpowers for speed. Hey, imagine you're managing a website and need to update content on an admin page, where changes must show up right away. I found this neat feature in Next.js that does just that. So, after you update your site's content, there's this function called revalidate that you can call to instantly refresh what users see. You just trigger it right after you handle a form submission, for example. This way, you ensure that as soon as you change something, everyone sees the latest version without delay. Pretty handy, right? When dealing with user sessions, caching can be tricky. You want to make sure that the personalized content generated based on a user session isn't stored for others to see. In this code, we first grab the session cookie. If there's no session, we respond with an error. But if we have a session, we create custom content for the user. Then, importantly, we set our cache header to no store to tell browsers and servers not to cache the response, keeping user data safe and private. Hey there! You know when you have data so secret you can't let it hang around in any cache? That's when you tell your fetch request to skip the caching line completely. Look at this code. If we're hitting the sensitive data path, we use the no store option, which tells the browser to always get the freshest, most confidential data from the source. It's like saying, no leftovers, please, I want a fresh meal every time for my ultra-secret info. Super important for keeping things tight and secure. Imagine you want your website to have a web page for each product you sell, but you want them pre-built for speed. With Next.js, you can dynamically create these pages using the GenerateStaticParams function. Here's how it works. You fetch a list of products from an external API, and then map over these products to generate paths that include their unique IDs. Next.js will use these paths to pre-render product pages at build time, using fallback blocking to serve them on demand if they weren't generated during the build. Simple, right? Imagine you've got a website that needs fresh content every hour, like the latest weather updates or news headlines. With Next.js, you can make this super simple using time-based revalidation. You just set up your page's getStaticProps function and include a revalidate property. Here's the magic number, 3600. That's the number of seconds in an hour. This little tweak tells your page to fetch new data and update itself every hour, automatically. your website stays up to date, and you can sit back and relax. Imagine you're juggling multiple caches at once, and your goal is to keep the information flowing without dropping the ball. In this code, we're handling a request by first checking our root cache for any pre-stored data. If it's empty, we fetch fresh data and then store it with a time limit to keep things up to date. We then make sure the client's cache knows this data should not linger too long, using headers that prevent holding onto outdated info. It's all about striking that balance to avoid a caching mess.